Hello and welcome to KRSE Beyond the Ordinary Webcast Radio, where we're going to go see what's been going on in the Butt Lab, right here with your hosts, Nancy and Lena.
Okay, and that's the future, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also, Clif joins us, and he's a little Randori weary. So that's a pass.
Now people are going to see that, think that he had too much Japanese dinner.
That's true.
You are going to have to explain that, Cliff.
They can go Google it.
Yeah, well, Randori is what's known as circle fighting in you. It's a training technique where if you have 14 or 15 people, each in turn stands in the middle of this circle of opponents or partners, and then they are attacked by all the other people, one after the other, at about 3/4 speed. It's not really super fast, but at my advanced age, I was in a randori with a bunch of young kids who had sticks. So I've been repeatedly whaled upon with sticks, and I'm feeling it today. It's part of martial arts training, by the way. It's not some kind of strange masochism.
No, it's not gang fighting.
There you go, exactly.
We were laughing about it because we have some experience in the Aikido also, and it's fun to talk about that. And besides, if we deal with so-called heavy subjects, I mean, they come in all forms, so we have to have a little fun with all of them.
You need to take it all with humor, yeah. Like, it's really odd that the universe has decided it's going to drag us through this mud yet again, and all we can do is laugh and say, okay, what are we supposed to learn this time?
Well, we mixed the mud. Why shouldn't it drag us through it?
Exactly. That's kind of my point, yeah.
Isn't it true, though, that with all these things going on, there's more and more things keep popping up going on globally, that we can use the Randori, you know, just mentally and
that's a good,
spiritually
good
with,
idea,
with
yeah.
all that? Because isn't that what really the Aikido training is
stay centered
and
take the energy as it comes past you.
Yeah.
Well, that, again, we were talking about this off the air, but Clif's Alta reports have a lot of facts. And in the beginning he warned us, you know, this could be heavy and gloomy and stuff. And I was telling him, not so, not so. They are so clear, and my gosh, Clif's WebBot project has been proven right so consistently that we can say these are facts. But what you put into it, Clif, your attitude and your awareness, and a very deep awareness, puts out the option that we do have choice. I mean, the universe is very, very allowing and allows for all possibilities, so we can definitely choose our own path through it.
Well, and you know, it may be even more compelling than that. It may be that that's the whole point, is that we not only may, but we must. That it may be that the universe operates on some basic principles that we could say are exhibited in our daily lives, and the lives of others whom we can observe. And we could say, for instance, that the old Mongolian saying of you either ride out to meet your destiny or you're overrun by the stampede of fate could be quite true. And so if you opt out, if you're not an aware observer of what's going on around you, that's a conscious choice almost. And those people's lives seem to be filled with blessings or curses. But the people who decide, well, I'm going to opt in and be quite in control of how I react with the universe, seem to have a more even attitude about things, such that everything is really just a challenge to them, and their lives proceed along. A little bit, I think, better than the other option. And within that conscious choice path, from once you actually start walking down that road, you get to the point where you discover that the road widens ahead of you, offering more and more choice, and so it becomes more difficult, but also more adventuresome or more compelling. And it's a constant kind of balancing act to keep your center among everything that's whirling around at you, from the old world, so to speak, and your new conscious path that decides how you're going to react with the universe. And oddly enough, one of the best exponents of this view is Buckminster Fuller, especially in his book Critical Path. And he talks about making himself into experiment B. B for Bucky. And he had certain rules, and he made up these rules and sort of wrote a contract with the universe and proceeded apace from there. And I'm Clif, and I've decided, well, I'm experiment C. But anybody can be their own experiment, and it truly is a remarkable way to view your interaction with the universe. Kind of like both good and bad, the idea of the Sorcerer's Apprentice saying, okay, I've seen some of this stuff, now maybe I'll give it a try and see what happens. Make sense?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
and it's a great visual. Cool. Oh, you're cropping up on YouTube a lot.
Yeah, I know. That's okay for me at the moment. I don't like the idea of being legend in my own time nor my own mind. And the YouTube part's okay because it doesn't really feed too much into our linguistics. But at some point, we could have such a presence that it would pollute any of our data streams and kind of shut us down.
It could, definitely. Now, we were very careful to not put any leading information in there, and then I see photographs. Cool.
You see photographs, you say?
On YouTube.
Yes, I see, yeah.
Yeah. I really would like that one with, your back to the camera, and if it is you, and the dark room, and the
no, that's not me. That's something that came out of the History Channel with George Ure.
Okay.
Okay, as far as I know, mostly my face isn't out and about, and I intend to keep it that way.
Right.
But and like I say, YouTube being the visual media that it is, it doesn't really slop over much into the text, which is where we're living and dying. But there's other issues that may impact us as well. Australia, for instance, is going to the ultimate in political correctness. They're going to substitution servers, which are going to work on the idea that if you sent public posting somewhere and you use language that they found offensive, their server would come up with new language and replace the offensive language in your post and not tell you.
Oh, my gosh. And isn't that hypocritical when on television there is so much that is offensive?
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, in fact, it's a whole offensive industry. No, seriously, and we need to understand that. Not only is it offensive in the sense of we're personally offended by views or images or whatever on there, but it is used as an offensive tool against the populace by the powers that be at levels that just stagger the imagination. I was doing an assay, Buckminster Fuller-like, of the amount of individuals within our society by classification provided by Commerce Department for jobs as to how many people are involved in the disinfo industry. And I came across some curious information that leads me to believe that there are perhaps hundreds of thousands of individuals employed in film studios and movie labs and so on and so forth, whose whole job is to implant subliminals.
Yeah, I've researched that, and it's amazing how clever these people are. It really is in the pictures and in the wording and everything. But
and the effort behind them seems to be quite determined. Buckminster Fuller called this his discovery of the invisible hand that ruled everything behind the scenes. And we see the same kind of language popping up from Woodrow Wilson when he signs the act that creates the Federal Reserve and says that, herewith I've just sold my fellow citizens into slavery. And we see everybody popping up, JFK, all of these people say, something weird's going on here. There's some kind of power that's so pervasive that one really can only talk about it in whispers in the center of power. And that's becoming more and more obvious and more blatant as we go forward, and I still believe that there's some kind of time pressure on these individuals, and our data seems to bear us out. Over the past 5 years, I would say, we've had a huge rise in what we call bespoke terms for emotions. This is where the people are actually using the word fear as well as using descriptive terms that are also conjunct to the idea of fear. We've seen a very large rise, maybe 10,000% within our powers that be entity around the fear language.
10,000%?
Yeah, something is really driving them. Coincident to this and leading this by maybe a couple of years, from 1999 into 2000, there was a large increase in reports in UFOs, and same condition existed when we went from 2000 to 2001. And it was almost the same levels and same patterns as the increase in fear words within the powers that be entity. Why this should be, I can't say. I just noted as a curious pattern in passing.
Huh.
Well, it doesn't help that, we have the Gaza-Israeli thing going on right now either. That's probably adding to it, I would think.
No, that's usually, there's a whole lot of fear language out relative to that, but the kind of things that we're getting from the powers that be entity we've been tracking for years. And so this is, however horrific, it is but a minor blip within the powers that be overall perception of the universe and where they rule it from.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So I'm just saying it's rather curious. There's something that is frightening to them. It may be the idea that the internet will reach a point of critical mass, and in a critical mass people will become aware and just not put up with the crap anymore. Or it may be that there's some kind of an exogenic event in the sense of, the alignment with the galactic center, or, incoming meteorites, or who knows. But we also have a preponderance of evidence that suggests that the two are intertwined, in the sense that it's probably no coincidence at a universal level that the internet growth has been so spectacular, and we're also at this same point entering a region of uncharted energies and effects on our solar system. Which
means effects on every person.
Correct.
Doing that. And is that the heliosphere phenomena, that
the recent loss of that,
yes,
in October, yeah.
There's a lot of fear about that, but it can be a very good thing.
It certainly can be. It appears to be a completion of a 30 million year cycle, and maybe even a 64 million year cycle. Unfortunately, both of those seem to correlate to extinctions. But then again, also the rise of new species. There's also the other more minor 100,000 year, 26,000 year, 13,000 year, and 5,115 year cycle completions all happening at the same time. Personally, I'm of the opinion that the unknown energies from space that we put in our Space Goat Farts entity, which reference those things that are officially denied, as well as those things that we simply don't understand and have no concept of, but we have some vague hint that they might be there, such as dark matter a few years ago was just sort of a noodle in a few astrophysicists' minds, and wasn't really any kind of a proven fact or any of this sort of a deal. Not that I'm saying it is at this point. I think they're